Everyone, and welcome to my review of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Well, that was an exciting end to the race, wasn't it, on Sunday? But before we go on to talk about the end of that race, your top three of Sergio Perez of Red Bull Racing, Sebastian Vettel of Aston Martin, and Pierre Gasly of AlphaTauri are top three. And I don't think that would have been a top three that many people would have predicted. Would be the top three come the end of the weekend, and I'm sure many people would not have predicted that Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton would end the weekend pointless. But that did prove to be the case, and we come on to might as well start with Red Bull and Sergio Perez. Fantastic win, albeit inherited through Max Verstappen having that really unfortunate incident. You can only put it down to a tyre failure. There was nothing. Red Bull already said that there was nothing on their data to suggest that Max was uh, going to have a puncture, and it just happened out of the blue, which is a real shame for Max because he did everything right. He was winning by a comfortable margin, although Sergio could kept him in touch. But you'd have to say Red Bull were looking good for a 1-2, and then bang, Max Verstappen ends up like I say getting a tyre failure. So real shame for Max, because like I say he did everything right, and through no fault of his own, he had to retire. But I think with Sergio, Sergio had a really strong weekend. Obviously wasn't able to put that final lap in qualifying because of Yuki Tsunoda put the car in the barriers, and also Carlos Sainz had that spin as well, which meant that both Max and Sergio and other drivers who were on their final flying lap in Q3 weren't able to complete it. So in a way, you could argue Sergio was a bit out of position, starting sixth on race day. But you have to say, fantastic start. Was able to get by Carlos Sainz and Pierre Gasly more or less straight away, and then he was able to get by Charles Leclerc, and then just really stay in touch with both Lewis and also his teammate Max Verstappen as well. And the thing is though, had Sergio not had a slow pit stop, he could have actually ended up leading the race. But no, really strong weekend from Sergio, and for so many laps as well, he had to fend off Lewis Hamilton, and he was able to do that. So you got to give him credit for that. And he was in the right position. Once Verstappen had his incident, Sergio was in the right place to take advantage and to then take the race win. Look, obviously on the restart, Lewis managed to get ahead, but then obviously locked his tires, and then he went straight on, which meant that Perez was able to regain the lead. And then yeah, really a fantastic win for Checo, and yeah, really happy for him. And you just never know, if Checo, can put one or two more wins together. You just never know, what could happen in this drivers' championship. Then maybe we might be talking about Checo being in contention. But at the moment, you have to say between Max and Lewis at this moment in time. But yeah, I think with Red Bull as well, I think they'll be hoping that because what Checo was able to achieve yesterday, Red Bull will be hoping that he can be right up there, and he can, as I say, if for instance, say Lewis or Max has say an instant, then Sergio's in prime position to take advantage. The Red Bull will be hoping that Checo can be right up there, more often. But no doubt the win on the streets of Baku will give Checo plenty of confidence going forward. We know he's already a Baku specialist. He's now been on the podium at Baku 3 times now, so he is someone who loves Azerbaijan, and so in a way, it shouldn't come really as a surprise that Checo picked up a strong result. But even so, the race win, to be fair, I did predict Checo would end up on the podium. I wasn't sure if he would win the race, but he did, and he probably deserves a really strong weekend for the Mexican. Could have been better for Red Bull. Could have been a 1-2. But as I've already said, really unfortunate for Max Verstappen. And I guess the only consolation they can take is the fact that his closest title challenger, Lewis Hamilton, ended up pointless. And might as well talk about Mercedes whilst we're on it. Yeah, two really difficult weekends for Mercedes. Although Lewis, you have to say, did a really good job in qualifying to put the car on the front row alongside Charles Leclerc. When you consider the turnaround, actually, you consider where Mercedes were on Friday, and then for Lewis then to put the car on the front row. Actually, you've got to give him credit for that. Yes, he did get that toe from his teammate Valtteri Bottas, but even so, you still need to deliver the lap, and Lewis was able to do that on Saturday. But yeah, really good job on Saturday. He obviously wasn't able to get by the Red Bulls during the race, and yeah, obviously we know what happened at the restart towards the end of the race as well. Obviously just went a little bit too hot going into the first corner, and obviously spoke about the magic button and spoke about that. But yeah, very very yeah, frustrating weekend for Mercedes, and another difficult weekend for Valtteri Bottas as well. I really felt for him in Monaco actually, because had that poor pit stop not happened, then Valtteri would have at least I reckon would have at least finished second. And then difficult weekend really. Obviously, he gave that toe to his teammate in qualifying in Q3, and then really in the race he was nowhere. He wasn't really able to make the gains that he would have liked, and it was another difficult race for Valtteri. And look, inevitably now there are going to be questions about Bottas's future at Mercedes. But we are coming up to tracks now that really should suit Mercedes, so they'll be hoping that Valtteri can, like Checo was able to do in Azerbaijan, that they'll be hoping that Bottas can get right up there to be alongside Lewis and to challenge for race wins now, because Bottas, look, he doesn't need me, or doesn't need anyone to tell him that obviously he needs to start picking up stronger results now, because if he doesn't, then inevitably he could lose the race at Mercedes come the end of this year, which no would be a real shame. And I really hope Valtteri can bounce back and pick up some race wins, and yeah, some strong results, and just get his season back on track. But yeah, like I say, very difficult weekend for Valtteri, for the team as well. And I guess the only consolation for Mercedes is the fact that Max was unable to extend his lead in the Drivers' Championship, which means that Lewis is only just 4 points behind in the Drivers' Championship. But at the same time, Red Bull have been able to extend their lead in the constructors as well. So yeah, not the best of weekends for Mercedes. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If there's one team that can bounce back from setbacks, it is Mercedes. And obviously we're coming up to tracks now which should suit their car. So don't discount them out just yet, and there's still an awfully long way to go this season. I mentioned about the top three earlier. Three happy drivers, and finishing in second, Sebastian Vettel of Aston Martin. No doubt frustrated not to make it into Q3 on Saturday. But if there's one place you want to start the race where you get free choice of tyres, it's P11, and he was able to really, the pace of Aston Martin, I have to say, was really encouraging, and good to see Sebastian back on song. I think that result in Monaco has definitely given him confidence, and no doubt, this result in Azerbaijan is going to help him even more. And obviously with Sebastian, because he was able to put on a fresh set of soft tyres, a couple more laps of the race, then Sebastian could have been in contention for the race win, especially with Sergio, the fact that he was towards the end of the race he was having hydraulic issues. So yeah, but no, cracking result for Sebastian and for the team as as well. And it's encouraging signs for Aston Martin. If they can continue this level of development this year, then you just never know. They might well able to claw back points on the likes of McLaren and Ferrari. And at this moment in time in the constructors, they are um, quite some way off from both Ferrari and McLaren at this point. But you have to say Aston Martin these last couple of races have really has been encouraging for them. A lot of positives that they can take, and it's clear that they have been making improvements. And yeah, I'm really happy for Sebastian. Actually, I think we know that last year was a very difficult year for him, and this year's not exactly been the most straightforward of starts to his life and career at Aston Martin. But these last two results, yeah, I'm sure will give him plenty of confidence going into the rest of the season. And it was looking good for Lance Stroll as well on Sunday in Azerbaijan, up until he had um, an, another tyre failure, another left rear failure, and yeah, well, thankfully both Lance and Max were good to see them climb out the car. Good to see that they were okay, but no real surprises. No, it's not a surprise that both will have felt the effects of their crashes. And like I say, up until that point, up until that incident, Lance was actually driving a decent race. And had he not had that tyre failure, then he may well have been in contention to score some points, which would have made it two Aston Martins in the points once again. But it wasn't to be. Um, but yeah, in terms of the tyres, I think Aston Martin as well. They had no data to suggest that Lance was going to or had a puncture. And then he ends up getting a tyre blower. Azerbaijan's always they've always been cases where we've seen tyre blowouts in the past. Whether it's down to the track characteristics, which results in Lance and Max getting those um, tyre failures. I'm not sure. But obviously, there are going to be questions pointed at or raised at Pirelli. But no, that Red Bull and Aston Martin will launch their own um, investigations as well into what happened. But yeah, it was horrible to see that both those crashes, but it was good to see both drivers get out of the car okay. And yeah, that they both well. So yeah, obviously did not the way that Lance would have wanted to end the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, but but at the same time, Sebastian Vettel, great result for him and the team, and something to build on for sure. And another great drive from Pierre Gasly, and no doubt Franz Toast and AlphaTauri might have to look into getting a bigger trophy cabinet soon, because Pierre Gasly really just keeps on delivering, and I won't be surprised if he ends up on the podium a fair few more times this year. Fantastic qualifying on Saturday. Yes, he got by. Well, Checo was able to get by him on the start, but even so, really strong showing from Pierre Gasly. Had an exciting battle with Charles Leclerc towards the closing stages of the race, and yeah, really fine drive from the Frenchman, and yeah, really good points for AlphaTauri as well. Also good points for Yuki Tsunoda as well. So good to see him back in the points after that a really good season opening race from the Japanese driver. Then had a spell really where really had some races where he struggled, but I think moving closer to Faenza and then being able to spend more time with the team in their HQ, I think is only going to help with his development. And already I think we're seeing signs of that benefiting Yuki. So yeah, really good result for Yuki, for Pierre, also for the team as well. And don't be surprised if AlphaTauri end up finishing on the podium more often this year. Come and talk about Ferrari. So Charles Leclerc finishing in fourth and Carlos Sainz in eighth. Um, yeah, really good lap from Charles in qualifying, so was able to benefit from the tow they got from the Mercedes of I think it was Lewis Hamilton, and yeah, really good lap from Charles. Didn't quite have the pace to be able to keep Lewis, and also the Red Bulls didn't have the pace to keep them behind him in the first part of the race. But yeah, more good points for Charles and Ferrari. And they just keep at it, and because of the results this weekend, at the weekend anyway, Ferrari now in third in the constructors. I think that battle between Ferrari and McLaren in the constructors is going to be very exciting. And we've in the past, particularly in the 90s, when Ferrari and McLaren went head to head. I get the feeling we're going to see that more often this year, which is exciting. And yeah, more of the same, please. Not the most straightforward of weekends for Carlos Sainz. Obviously, we know what happened in qualifying. Where no doubt he would have been affected by Yuki going into the barriers in Q3. So that would have had an impact in what happened with Carlos. But then yeah, just just a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes from Carlos this weekend. But even so, still picked up some points for Ferrari. And yeah, I mean, look, not every driver is going to have a perfect weekend, and it was just one of those weekends where things just didn't quite click for Carlos. But even so, despite that, he's really adapted to life very well at Ferrari, and I think there's so many positives that he and the team can take from the way that they've performed so far this year. So I just mentioned about McLaren. So yeah, bit of not the say in terms of results, it could have been better for McLaren. But even so, both drivers in the points. So Lando Norris, obviously we know that he got a penalty in qualifying, which to be fair, I could understand why he was given a free place drop, and then really that kind of had an impact on his race. Not the best of starts for Lando, but even so, he was able to recover well and to finish fifth. So yeah, really good recovery from Lando Norris, and with Daniel Ricciardo as well. Obviously, he wants to be finishing better than ninth. He wants to be finishing more higher up in the points. But even so, after qualifying 13th and then being able to end up finishing in the points, which no, not a bad showing from Daniel Ricciardo. But know that the Honey Badger will be expecting more going into the rest of the season. Another driver who had a really good showing this weekend, Fernando Alonso, making it into Q3 for the first time in Baku in his career, and then yeah, not a bad race at all. I think from what I saw in the race, kind of struggled to say in the mid part of the race, but once then he was able to put those soft tyres on at the end, he definitely was able to make up some ground and yes, and pull off some fine moves. So yeah, I think Alpine another good showing from the team. Shame about Esteban Ocon, because had he not had his issues in the race, then I think he might well have been in contention to score points as well. But I think Alpine are slowly starting to improve in 2021, and yeah, they're showing signs of improvement. So yeah, really good showing from Fernando Alonso. And as I say, as I've mentioned before, it's not been a straightforward start for this year for Fernando, but finishing sixth and some good haul of points for Alpine for the Spaniard as well. That will give him confidence going into the rest of the season. Obviously, with Alpine as well, their home race coming up next as well, so they'll be determined to want to put on a strong showing in front of their home crowds. They'll definitely be up for that. And then finally, just wanted to talk about Alfa Romeo. So finally, Kimi Raikkonen has scored his first point of 2021, and I think Alfa Romeo, I think they have been threatening to score more points. So actually, Kimi finishing in points is a good result. Antonio Giovinazzi just missing out in 11th, but not a bad showing from Antonio. And when you consider that he started right at the back of the grid, and he ends up finishing 11th, then that was another um, strong showing from the Italian. Just missed out on points in Azerbaijan, but even so, a lot of positives that he can take, and also Alfa Romeo as well. I think they made some improvements this year, and I think the improvements that they have made has been encouraging, and they're no doubt in the midfield battle. Now they are clearly ahead of Williams and Haas at this moment in time, and yeah, good to see Kimi Raikkonen in the points, and a well deserved point for the Finn. So that is the end of my review of what was an exciting end to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and as I just mentioned, going to France next. So yeah, fingers crossed we're in for another great race there. So yeah, if you want to talk things Formula One, I'm on Instagram, ManishPatel89, and also on Twitter at Baggies20. Catch up with you guys later, and as I will do my preview for the French Grand Prix. Take care, everyone.